Hey guys, Thinking here, bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and so I've decided in the end that I am actually going to do the Extreme Super Battle Road guides as separate videos, because I recorded the first couple, and like even halfway through the video is going to be over an hour long. So obviously, you know, even with timestamps being able to help you find the stage that you need to look at the guide for, that's obviously going to be super annoying. Very, very long video, so I feel like it probably is best to break it down into stages. So I'm going to record this generic intro that I'm then going to put in front of each one of the guides, because I already recorded a lot of them, you know, expecting that I was going to put them together as one video, so they don't have their own proper intro. So most of them just start with me going, so next up this stage. So there's no proper actual video intro. So I'm going to record this as well as an outro that I can whack on the end. And we're going to put these in front of all of the guides. So between now and the time that the stages drop, which should be Tuesday evening in the US, Wednesday morning in the UK, all of these videos should be out in time for the stages to be released, so you guys can get some advice on teams for beating those stages. So I think I mentioned it in each one of the guides I recorded already anyway, but make sure you let me know for this particular video, for this stage, what your team build is going to be down below in the comments section. And if there's any units that you think I missed out that I should have talked about, let me know that down below and we can continue the discussion down there as well. So if you do find the guide helpful, do smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's go ahead and jump in. Okay, so next up we have Pure Saiyans. Now this one, like Transformation Boost, is going to be a little bit more tricky. This will probably be one of the longer guides because there are so many options here. Obviously, Pure Saiyans is one of, if not the biggest category in the game. I mean, you think about back to some of the other ones where we probably only have like things like Giant Form, where there's only like maybe 20 TURs on the entire team. And then you look at this, there's like more TURs of one typing than there is of like the entire of some of the other categories. So there are a lot of options here. And obviously the best option for you is going to largely depend on your box. So for this one specifically, I am going to split the guide into two sections. In this first part, I'm going to go over a bunch of leaders, and then in the second part, I'm going to go over a bunch of honorable mentions that could fit on those teams. Not necessarily on all of them, depending on which leader you choose, but otherwise we'll be here forever because there's just so many units. So obviously right off the bat, if you just want to go Pure Saiyans across the board, don't have any restriction in how you build your team, then you've got units like the Int LR God Goku, because he has Pure Saiyans as part of his leader skill. 4 key, only 130 to stats. One thing you have to take into account straight away is the fact that this Pure Saiyans ESBR is considered one of the hardest ones. So maybe having a 130 across the board leader skill is not ideal. So obviously all your units are going to have lower defense, you're going to have lower HP overall. So maybe not ideal. But Goku is very good. He obviously greatly raises his attack and defense on Super. For the first 7 turns, he has a built-in chance to dodge and built-in chance to crit. And of course, with Super Battle Road, you're probably not going to go much longer than that, if at all, if you can even get to turn 7. So he's going to have that ability up all throughout the event. And then it just kind of comes down to RNG as to whether or not he gets those dodges. And then he can obviously be incredibly useful. Like I say, maybe the leader skill not the best because it is a little bit on the low side. And then obviously we have the physical transforming Vegeta. Technically he has the best Pure Saiyans leader skill on global because we do not have the Super Vegeta yet. But, you know, he's not a particularly great unit. He has not aged super well. Obviously, we saw with how good the EZAs were for the transforming Frieza and transforming Goku, that obviously his future EZA, he's probably going to be really, really good. But obviously, we still have to wait for that to come around. So he does have the best leader skill just for all-encompassing Pure Saiyans, but chances are he's probably going to end up being the weakest unit on the team. which is going to be a detriment overall. So now we're going to talk about the different categories, and this is where, again, it's very specific to your box. But first up, one of the top choices that I wanted to point out was the Int LR Namek Goku, and that is because not only is he an incredibly good unit, you can obviously take the risk of putting him in slot 1, him getting hit, and then he gets a guaranteed additional super. He raises defense on the 12 key and attack on the 18 key, so you can obviously go for like getting hit in slot 1, getting the 18 key super, guaranteed additional into the 12 key, and he's obviously raising both his attack and defense. Very, very good, very, very powerful. All the enemies in this stage are super type, so you're not going to be able to use his active skill or anything like that. But even without that tool in his arsenal, he is a very powerful unit. And of course, his leader skill is Legendary Existence and Super Saiyans. So obviously the combination of those two categories includes a ton of the Pure Saiyan units. Legendary Existence includes units like the Brolys. So obviously very good. And then Super Saiyan, I mean, obviously massive category. It does include hybrids, of course, which you can't use on this build, but there are so many units that fit under this category. A lot of units that we're going to talk about work on each other's teams, of course, as well. So this team going to be very, very good. Like Super Saiyans alone has an incredibly strong roster of Pure Saiyan units, and then of course Legendary Existence lets you throw in those Brolys and some other characters. So the Goku team is going to be very, very powerful for this. Next up we have the AGL UI Goku and the Int SSBE. Obviously, whilst he's more RNG based, the AGL UI Goku is probably the better of the two, because very possible that he just takes no damage throughout the entire run because he just keeps dodging everything. Miraculous Awakening and Reps of Universe 7 obviously includes quite a few Pure Saiyans. The fact that they both have Reps of Universe 7 as a sub-lead, like Powerful Comeback as well, of course, has Pure Saiyans on it. And of course, because they have this part of the leader skill, they can both be run on each other's teams as well. And of course their categories, I believe, and I'm not sure about Powerful Comeback actually, we'll have to check that out, but pretty sure that Miraculous Awakening is also the category that Int Goku is on. So as you can see, if we look at Miraculous Awakening, yeah, there's a lot of really good Pure Saiyan units on here. And then Powerful Comeback, we got some decent Pure Saiyan units on here as well, including units like the new Tech Gogeta. So yeah, very, very strong option of Pure Saiyans on both of these teams. So, and of course, like I said, they can be run on each other's teams as well. So they're also very strong options. Then we have the GT Super Saiyans. So we have Goku and Vegeta. Obviously, they have GT Heroes as their main leader skill, so they can be run on each other's team as well, which is really useful. And then, of course, their secondary lead is the family leader skills, and this is why like some of these teams are going to be so much better to run than just Pure Saiyans in general, because with the best lead on global being 150%, the physical transforming Vegeta, like even the sub leader skill, which is lower for these two units, is 150% across the board. So Goku family and Vegeta family. Obviously Vegeta family is a little bit more limited because most of the units on the team that are actually good are either Vegetas or Trunkses, and Trunks can't be used in this stage. Goku family, you at least have access to units like the Tech Raditz, who's really good in Super Battle Road, the Bardock units, so very, very strong. And obviously these two units are incredibly strong themselves because they have GT Heroes as a sub-lead, or well, their main lead, I guess, and then family as their other lead. Both of these teams, not only can you run both units, but you can run both the EZA Super Saiyan 4s and you can run the LR Super Saiyan 4s. So these teams, very, very good. Next up, we have the other set of counterpart units. We have the STR Goku and Vegeta that fuse into Vegito, and then the Tech Goku and Vegeta that fuse into Gogeta. Gogeta's team is a little bit more limited because obviously Time Limit is mostly fusions, although there are a few non-fusion units on there. And then Connected Hope does have a lot of Saiyans, because I remember back when those missions came out for the GT LGE, I did a video doing the Connected Hope run using a full Super Saiyans team. So there are a bunch of Super Saiyans that are on Connected Hope. Not all of them are Pure Saiyans, but yeah, you can make a team out of this leader skill, absolutely. Probably not as strong as some of the other teams, but these guys definitely worth running on the team as well. And then, of course, STR Vegito, we all know how good he is. Back when the previous set of category Super Battle Road stages came out, I think it might have been the ones that came out in December last year, I think I used this unit and their team on multiple stages to do the no item run. So obviously Battle of Wits and Majin Buu Saga, there's a lot of pure Saiyans across those teams, and of course the actual Vegito, like Goku Vegeta unit is very, very good. They have that damage reduction, you can choose to fuse to get a free heal, and also scout super attacks for the next 10 turns, which covers the entire of the rest of a Super Battle Road fight. So obviously very, very useful. So all of these units not only have teams that you can make out of their leads, but obviously it kind of goes without saying, if you're going to pick a different category leader and you can run any of these units that we've talked about on their teams, then obviously it's going to be worth doing so, because all of these units not only have good leader skills for this event, but are also very powerful. And the last one that I brought up here was the physical LR, the Blue Boys, because they have All Out Struggle and Joined Forces as a leader skill. That obviously has a lot of pure Saiyans as well. I mean, Joined Forces literally covers like the last two units that we talked about, who work insanely well as a rotation together. And they do have the 150 across the board leader skill. So a lot of these teams match or are better than the best pure Saiyan leader skill that we have available on Global at the moment. So all of these guys are not only good units in Super Battle Road, but also you are able to make strong teams out of their leader skills. Obviously, there's many other categories as well. Like if we scroll down just quickly, you know, I'm trying to look at these very quickly here. We got units like AGL Transforming Goku's only 130 across the board, but obviously he's all super types, so you can make a team out of his leader skill. He's definitely better than Transforming Vegeta, but the leader skill is a lot lower. We just had the Kale and Caulifla release on Global, so their leader skill, Bond of Friendship, features most Gokus in the game. And then obviously Rapid Growth has some other Pure Saiyan units as well, so their leader skill definitely good. Super Saiyan 2, technically you can make a full Pure Saiyan Super Saiyan 2. There's a lot of really good Hybrid Saiyans on there, but you can definitely make a good Pure Saiyan team for that. So I mean, you can see here, we could be here all day if we just scroll down. There are so many teams that you can make categories out of these guys. So very, very solid option. It's all going to come down to your box. I've covered who I think are probably the best leaders to make teams out of. And so if you can make teams out of any of these category units that I'm showing on the screen now, you are definitely going to have a very solid hope at beating this. Because I know I don't make my guides around doing no items, so a lot of these teams, some of these teams we're talking about would potentially be able to no item this stage, but for most people who are just going to use items, you are definitely going to be perfectly fine. So let us go ahead and move on to talking about some units that will work really well in this stage. Okay, so moving on to talk about some units that will be good on this team. Now, of course, there's just to reiterate, this is a very, very big category. So with all of my team building guides, I always say that if there's any units that I miss out, let me know down below that you want to talk about. That's probably very likely to happen with this one. So if there is a unit I don't talk about, feel free to let me know down below in the comments why you think they'll be really good on this stage. Obviously, I can't go through every single unit in the category and weigh up their pros and cons, so I just tried to pick out a bunch of the ones that I think will be really, really good on this team. And of course, a lot of these can be run under multiple of the leaders that we talked about before. Some of them can only be run under one, so you know, you kind of have to go by what you have in your box, what leaders you can use, and things like that. So to start us off with, obviously, we have to have a brief section where we talk about LR Broly. LR Broly's still one of the best units in the game, especially when it comes to Super Battle Road. Double AoE supers, very good defense. I think all the enemies in this stage are Hybrid Saiyans, so he's going to be getting his passive activated. I think there's a Goku family enemy in most, if not all, of the stages as well. So this man absolutely is going to go crazy in this stage. There's not really a huge amount we need to say about him, but yeah, this is why I highlighted the Int Namek Goku as one of the best leaders to build a team, because this guy is obviously on legendary existence. So very, very powerful unit. Next up, we have Physical LR Bardock. I thought we'd mention him nice and early because we covered a couple of units that he could be featured on the team for. After his Easy A, he's just really, really good. He's got solid defense. His 18 key super is the one that seals, which I really like. I've mentioned it when talking about this unit before, but a lot of LRs have their 18 key is their hard hitting attack, and then the 12 key has some kind of utility like stunning or sealing. And then in Super Battle Road, you kind of have to make the decision of which one of those you want to get in order to play out for those effects. Whereas this Bardock, obviously on his 12 key, he does raise his defense more than he does on his 18 key, but his 18 key is the one that seals. So very, very useful for Super Battle Road. Obviously, there's no freezer enemy, so he's not going to be getting his full passive, but you're fighting multiple enemies, so he gets extra key. He's got a nice little defense buff at the start. So yeah, he's pretty solid, and sealing is a very good way to control fights in Super Battle Road. So next up we have the STR UI Goku. Obviously there's a lot of teams that he can be run on that we've talked about. You know, don't really need to say much about him. He basically fits exactly the same role as the AGL LR Goku, just minus a few extra tools. So if you get the good RNG, you know, potentially throughout the entire run, this guy just takes no damage because he just dodges absolutely everything. Every time he dodges, his power like jumps up a little bit until he reaches his maximum. So he is very good. He does have the disable enemy guard effect on his super, which we always kind of make fun of as being a bad super attack effect, but it does at least mean he can still do good damage against AGL enemies, even if you're not getting a crit. So he is obviously a very, very solid option for some of the teams. And if you are going to run him and the AGL one, then of course, you don't need me to tell you, those two go incredibly well together. Next up, we have the Int LR Vegeta and Goku exchange unit from the download celebration. This unit is actually very, very powerful. I always forget just how strong this unit is until I use them again. I joked about when their details were released that I thought their kit was really boring, but like big numbers go brr when you use them for sure, because like mine has 2 dupes and is level 10 links, and even without the best link partner and not a lot of support on the rotation, they're easily hitting like 7 million attacks now with their 18 key super on, like, I think it was on a Vegeta family team I was running them the other day. So this unit is very, very good. They raise their defense on super. They've just got very solid stats. They obviously do have the potential for the revival. So if you go into a turn when you are at 29% or less HP, then they basically lose all of their passive. So they've got no defense, which is kind of in design so that you can then get the revival with them. So hopefully if you're lucky, they get to get off an attack before that happens, because obviously revival ends the turn. But if you are able to get the revival, you get a 70% HP recovery, revive into Goku, and then Goku is obviously incredibly powerful. The only thing you need to be careful about is if you are going to bring this unit, if you're running like a Vegeta family team, then this Goku is not going to link up necessarily the best with some of the other units that you have. But as one of the leaders we went over, we talked about the GT Super Saiyans. You can quite easily run a team that has both of like the GT Super Saiyans, Goku and Vegeta, both the Super Saiyan 4s for Goku and Vegeta. So even if this Goku exchanges, there's going to be a unit for him to share a few links with. So very, very powerful unit. Next up, we have the Int Broly. I don't think you can make a Planetary Destruction or Movie Bosses team that is full Pure Saiyans, or if you can, I don't know if it's the most effective for this stage, but he as a unit himself is obviously very, very good. He has a little bit of damage reduction, builds up defense with each super, and then post super he gets a little bit of extra damage reduction because there's always going to be a Hybrid Saiyan enemy. So maybe he's not the best slot 1 unit, but he's definitely going to be very, very effective in this event. You target a tech enemy with him and get good RNG, and he's going to pump out a bunch of super attacks and deal a lot of damage to them in the 1 turn, whilst also still being very good defensively. So very, very solid option. Next up we have the both the EZA Super Saiyan 4s. Goku is considered to be slightly better than Vegeta. I mean, they're both on a very similar level. They're both insanely good. We talked about a couple of different teams that these guys can be run on either together or separately, so they are both very good. I didn't bring up the pages for the LR Super Saiyan 4s, but obviously they're both solid options as well. The EZAs just are slightly better overall, and you don't have to worry about their key restriction to get like the 18 key, especially with the LR version of Vegeta basically needing to get his 18 key super in order to have good defense. So the EZA version is just a lot less hassle to deal with. But of course, with the same name update, you can run both. Like if you're running a GT Heroes team, you can bring both versions of the Super Saiyan 4s, and they're just very, very powerful. They push out easily like 5-6 million attack stats, decent defense. They have the 30% chance to counter a super attack as well. So again, if you get good RNG, that can always come in clutch and save you from a run-ending super attack. So next up, we have Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta. So So we talked about him in the Super Saiyan 3 guide. When it comes to Super Battle Road, he's probably still one of the best units in the game. I always say that if you can run him on a team in Super Battle Road, then you should. Obviously, he fits under a couple of the teams that we talked about, like Vegeta Family. This guy, just very, very good. Even if you're just running a generic Pure Saiyans team. Like, the only way I would say that you're not running this guy is if you are just running one of those other team builds that he isn't going to fit on. But, like, even if you want to run something like a more GT Heroes build, just bring double Vegeta leads and then put this guy on the team, because he's just that good. He's going to take basically no damage. He's got a 50% chance to stun. His links could be a bit of an issue if you're running a mostly prepared for battle team, because obviously you need to super attack with him, but he is just very, very good in Super Battle Road, and that's just the bottom line. And then we have Xeno Super Saiyan 3 Goku. Now, we talked about him in the Super Saiyan 3 video because there's a lot of Dragon Ball Heroes units on that team. In this one, there definitely are Dragon Ball Heroes units that you can bring, but not as many. So this Goku really shines when he's got these Dragon Ball Heroes allies, because he gets 7% damage reduction per one on the team, and it does include himself. So he always has a minimum of 7% damage reduction, 100% defense, and guards. But once you get a couple of other Dragon Ball Heroes units on the team, that damage reduction kicking in with the guard and his base defense, he's going to take very little damage. He also has a 50% chance to stun, so he is a very, very good defensive unit if you are bringing a couple of Heroes units. So next up we have both the new Super Saiyan 3 Vegetas. They work really, really well together. This Vegeta links up super well with the Int GT Vegeta, so definitely a solid choice. He's not a great slot 1 unit in something like ESBR, which is very difficult right out the gate, because he does need to build up a little bit in order to be as impressive as he can be. But in slot 2, after getting off a super, taking a hit or two, like, he definitely is going to be very solid. There probably are a lot better options than him, but he's kind of fresh in my mind because he's a recent unit. Same with this guy. If you're guarding, he gets a massive amount of damage reduction. I didn't actually check. How many int enemies are there on the stage for Pure Saiyans? So there's an int enemy in the final stage. So if you don't get good RNG to get the guard to go off, at least he will be always guarding against that int enemy in the final stage. And that means he's going to have 40% damage reduction. So he's a solid option as well. Obviously not as good as the STR Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, but a solid backup if you do not have the STR. I don't think these two necessarily would make the cut for like the best build of the team, but they're definitely worth considering. Next up, we have 2 Heroes units that can complement that Xeno Super Saiyan 3 Goku, which is both of the Xeno Super Saiyans. They support their own family teams, so depending on how you want to run those teams, even if you're running like the GT Heroes team with double Goku or double Vegeta leads, these guys will be worth bringing along to give that support to the family units. Goku also does have a 50% chance to stun on Super, which is very, very effective for Super Battle Road. Vegeta, not quite as good, but still useful. He lowers attack, so obviously still very useful on Super Battle Road. They greatly raise their defense on super attack. They start off with pretty decent amount of defense as well. They're definitely designed to be like slot 3 floating off the rotation units, but that nice little extra bit of utility from the Goku with the stun definitely makes him worth running if you have some Goku family units on your team. And like I said, they will be Heroes units that can contribute towards the Xeno Super Saiyan 3 Goku passive. So next up we have Tech Raditz. I thought we'd throw him in. I mentioned him briefly earlier. You know, I used him on the Extreme Techno items run. Under a high leader skill, like, he is pretty good. Against the multiple enemies, he has damage reduction and a guaranteed stun. Now, the guaranteed stun is from his passive, so it's only for 1 turn, but he does, of course, have the chance to stun on super, so if that's the one that goes off, then it is a proper 2-turn stun, so he can be very, very good. Obviously, he's an extreme unit, but he fits nicely into the Goku family team, or just straight up Pure Saiyans. None of the other teams we really talked about you can run him on, but he can be a solid option if you are lacking other stronger choices. He's definitely lower on the tier list of options, but he is a solid unit, and that stun is something that is very, very useful. I mean, Extreme Tech ESBR is so much more difficult. We're not even talking about no item runs, just Extreme Tech ESBR in general. So much more difficult if you don't have this guy, because he's just really good for Super Battle Road, so he can be used here as well. well. And then last up, I wanted to mention the Dark Mask King. If you're running other heroes units, this guy can be very useful. Like if you're running that GT Heroes kind of team with double Vegeta leads, you could bring, of course, the Vegeta family support, Xeno Super Saiyan Vegeta, and then you bring this guy, because if you have a hero's ally in the same turn, then he guards, which is obviously very useful. He's got 100% defense. He then gets a 100% defense buff for 5 turns after he receives the first attack. And then he also lowers attack with his super, and he heals 10% of the damage that he deals. So you could run a rotation even of like this guy in slot 1, and then the Xeno support Vegeta in slot 2. There's a lot of ways you could make this guy useful. Obviously, his best linking partner, who is also a pure Saiyan, is the AGL Black Mask Saiyan. But until he gets an easy A, like, he's just not very good defensively, so he's not super good for Super Battle Road. They both lower attack on Super, so you can kind of target down and nerf the enemy that would be attacking the Black Mask Saiyan, but if he gets hit with a Super, he's just going to get absolutely destroyed. So this guy can be useful, but you need to make sure you're running a hero's unit on rotation with him. I really wish that was crossover instead, because then you could make use of those new Super Saiyan 3 Vegetas or something like that. But it has to be a hero's unit, so you could run him on rotation with the support Vegeta, or if you're running like just a general Pure Saiyans team, I guess you could use like the Xeno Super Saiyan 3 Goku. But yeah, this guy is definitely worth considering if you're somebody who just recently pulled a whole bunch of the heroes units. So there you go. Like I said at the very beginning, this is definitely probably one of the longest guides, if not the longest one so far, but it's one of the biggest categories in the game, so there was a lot to talk about. So let me know what you guys think down below. If there's any units that you think we should talk about more in the comments, obviously let me know and I'll let you know what I think, and let me know what team build you guys are going to try. Okay, there you go. So that is going to conclude this guide. Make sure, like I said at the start, you let me know down below if there's a unit that I didn't talk about or you think I should have talked in more detail about, and we can discuss that further in the comments, and let me know what your team is going to look like. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below for the Discord and the merch store, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.